Hey guys, I'm back with an update on my VKAR Bison repair. As you recall in the last video, I had discovered several broken parts that I didn't realize that were broken until I tore it apart. So I had to order additional parts from Hobbytown to get the parts I needed to fix this thing. So as you recall, the original problem was broken chassis brace, the diff cover broken off at the front where the bumper mounts on. So I had originally picked up those parts, but then I shortly discovered that the aluminum bulkhead, let me find which one that was, had a broken off screw inside of it. I don't know if you can see it there or not. So, and also found out that these bushings also needed replacing, at least two of them. So went ahead and picked up the parts. They're in the aluminum bulkheads that go around the diff, the front arm bushings, and the chassis brace set. Now I was at it, went ahead and picked up a spare complete differential as well, so just to have those parts on stock for future. So yeah, okay, I'm going to go ahead now and get this thing back together. Then I'm going to tear apart the other two diffs, and I'm going to refill them with differential fluid as well. Now you can check part one of the repair where I showed the fluid is pretty more on the dry side inside the differential. So if you want to see that, you can go ahead and check that out. All right, let's go ahead and get started with this final repair. Alright, I got my front diff replaced here. I got the new aluminum bulkheads in. Now these are a little brighter color. Here's the old one. I don't know if you can see, but you can see it's like a more gold color. And the old one had more of a brownish tint to it, but got that back together. You can see the new arm bushings here on the front. They're slightly different. I'm going to try to get in here and show you. The old one, which is here, is a little deeper. See how this replacement is more flush with this aluminum mount piece. That's not going to be a problem, but just wanted to show you that. So yeah, I tore these shocks apart, and these caps were really tight. I had a heck of a time getting them off, way too tight. But they were filled to the top. Not sure what the weight oil was, but it's pretty thin. So, just an update on that. I'm going to go ahead and get this chassis brace repaired up here, and I'm going to go ahead and put this front end back together. Alright, going to go ahead and get this piece right here replaced. Picked up the brace set. Comes with the two pieces, mounting screws, and the V brace. Just going to go ahead and remove this. Alright, my two pieces, good to go. Alright, going to go ahead and get the steering linkage back on. There's just a nut and a screw which holds each one. Going to go ahead and get that started. Going to go ahead and get this nut threaded onto this. All right. I'm going to go ahead and tighten that up, and then we're going to go ahead and do the other side. One thing I wanted to mention quick about these arm bushings is when you put these in this aluminum piece, there's a hole the hole is not in the center. It's offset. So when you put these in, make sure the offset hole is on the outside of each piece. That's the front and the back. That pin rides in those, and that hole needs to be on the outside, not the inside. So make sure it's on the outside and you'll be good to go. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's the hole. You can see it's offset, so just make sure that hole is to the outside. Alright, going to go ahead and get our shock tower mounted back up. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 threaded holes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, which mount here. Now on the back, these chassis braces, they go into these 2 holes here, and then there's a screw that holds each one of those in. I'm just going to get each one of these started, and then I'll snug them up. Going to go ahead and loosen these up just a bit so I can get those chassis braces in the back in. There's the first one, and here's the second one. You probably can't see that on camera, but there's just a little tab that sticks out on each one of those plastic pieces that fits into the back of that. So into the back of that shock tower. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get these snugged up, and then we're going to go ahead and put our shocks and our linkage back on. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get this steering brace dog bone back in place. I'm going to go ahead and make sure your dog bone is in there, and then slide that up, and this just holds in from the back with a screw and nut. Goes in the bottom hole. I'm going to put our nut on. Go ahead and tighten that up. Okay. Alright, going to go ahead and get our shock back on. First of all, I never took these off. The shock tower threaded bolt with a nut on the inside holding it to the tower. Then there's a little plastic spacer that goes on. Then your shock. And then that's secured with a nut. Nut on the front. Alright, that's it. Going to go ahead and get the other side done, and then we'll be back to put the front bumper on. Alright, going to go ahead and get my front bumper mounted back on. There's 2 countersunk screws that go underneath on the bottom, and on the top there's 2 screws that mount to the diff cover, and this is what broke on the old diff cover, snapped off right there on the top. So go ahead and get those back together. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and just get these screws started on the top. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. Alright, going to go ahead and put these two countersunk screws in, and then I'll tighten up the top. There's the countersunk screw. I can line that up. One. Number two. Alright, now I'm going to go back to the top and tighten up those two little screws which hold the top to the front diff cover. Alright, going to go ahead and snug these up. One, and again. Number two. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and reroute my wires for the headlights back through. Hook those back up. All right. There's my front end all repaired. I'm going to go ahead and tear this center diff apart. Since this front diff, as you saw in video 1, didn't have very much lube in it, so I'm going to go ahead and do that one. I'm going to check this spur gear as well, which some reported some heavy wear on it. Since it's plastic, I'm going to do the rear diff as well.